This is the final score after today's match, this evening's match, and the emotion is frankly relief. I'm so happy and relieved that we've managed to hold out and win a match. This was a good match to win. I think there's a few things that went in our favor. Um, I actually think the rain played in our favour. The fact that it was at home, difficult conditions really for Chelsea. They took time to adapt to it. United got out of the blocks strong, brilliant start. The intensity was super high. It's the best again. Continuing on the same theme, it's one of the best periods that we've seen of Man United play for a few years, but I don't want to say this is the best we're playing throughout because we don't manage the game well. But anyway, our extreme pressure on Chelsea with the conditions and the fact that we were home ended up bringing us an opportunity. Embuemo was played through on goal, took it past the keeper. Keeper brought Embuemo down, and it was a red card. Fairly simple. Nothing controversial about that. Then we got chances. Bruno Fernandes put us ahead, and shortly after, Casemiro got us a well-deserved goal. 2-0 was the least that we deserved. Could and should have been more. I think we created opportunities down the left-hand side with Diallo, which we just didn't cross, did not have the cutting edge for that final goal. Embuemo put in a very good shift, didn't really get fed many chances and had a few opportunities, couple of opportunities at goal, which on another day could have found the back of the net. But yeah, thoroughly confident, dominant performance by United in the first half. And the one major incident that marred it was that second yellow card for Casemiro. The first one, again, was not necessary. I think it was a yellow card potentially, but the fact that, it was such a tough game, it was his first real challenge. Even that for me was a bit harsh, but it was unnecessary. He's only got himself to blame. That second one was never a yellow card and certainly does not deserve of the red. But anyway, the referee felt that this match needed equalizing. United were far too ahead in terms of their dominance against Chelsea. Um, yeah, just yes, we went cruise control, and even at 10v10, nothing really changed. Second half, I expected a change. As I said, I did expect Sesko or Ahmad to come off, but instead it was it's Sesko. I would have preferred us to persevere with Sesko, and I think in many ways United's tempo did drop. We didn't start that second half quite as strong physically as we did the first half. The rain again impacted the play. I think by then Chelsea had, you know, come into and adapted to the play, but it was starting to, impact parts of play in the middle of the pitch. But yeah, I think, without Seska there and United tempo was just not as high. And the fact that we had a 2-0 lead. So we had some opportunities to attack, but we didn't. Chelsea, on the other hand, did not create anything. So we were comfortable there. Ahmad played better. And eventually, Mbuemo got subbed off. But here's the thing, with the substitutions, I think Amarim deserves credit with the team that he's picked. Eventually, again, I might not agree. You guys might not agree. We all have our opinions, but in the end, the one opinion that matters is that of Ruben Amorim. He's the Man United manager. He decided to start Maguire. Got it, granted. Just a second. I'm just going to let my cat in. He decided to start Maguire. Granted, and as I said, Man United had a very dominant performance physically. But then he continues on his trend of substituting at least one of the three centre backs. And again, for no reason, Maguire had a very good game till then. So did so did Ligt, and so did Luke Shaw. But he decides to make a change, and off comes Maguire, in comes Lenny Yoro, who, again, I love Yoro. I think he's he's certainly one for the future, but he's also for the present. I would have started him personally for the match, but Amorim decided to go in with Maguire, and it worked well for us. Why change? Anyway, he changes. Chelsea get Chelsea put in the ball in the box with the rain, etc. We did, kind of like negated that left hand side. James, who, let's face it, is, I think, England's best right back. Great free kicks for England, and he's shown his talent for Chelsea as well. So he was given a little bit more space, which he didn't have in the first half, didn't have at the beginning of the second half. But all of a sudden, he starts getting a bit more space down his right and United's left hand side, puts in a cross, and we do not defend that set piece. I believe he came from a corner, and we don't defend that set piece. Who was there with him from in a United shirt? Lenny Yoro mistimes his jump, and Chalobah scores. Out of nothing, Chelsea hit the back of the net with their first shot on target, with their first header and shot on target. Absolutely needless, pointless substitution, which brings on more pressure on United, piles more pressure onto the defense, onto onto the team. All of a sudden you can see that now we're playing with a little bit of doubt. But I've got to be honest. I give the players credit. I think we managed the game. There was one other really good instance, if not a couple of good instances, where James got some time again on that right hand side, and he put in another really good ball. But we dealt with that. I think it was two other occasions where Chelsea attacked, but Man United dealt with it brilliantly. But why? That's the major question. At that time, I was fuming when Harry Maguire came off. He's not one of my favorite players. I've never really been a fan, but if you choose to go with him in defense and he's having a good game, leave him. There was no need for United to make that substitution. So anyway, 2-1 it was. And yeah, in the end we managed to hold out to the victory, which I think will give United players, United fans, and Amorim some breathing space. I think he really needed that. We really needed that. We as fans come into no less pressure on a daily basis, scrutiny, question marks of our manager, of our team. And I actually think this United crop, there's something about them. We can do well. I just don't think we're thoroughly managed well. And you could see that despite the fact that we didn't have a midweek game, we had all week to prepare for this match. We started it great. We got into the game, got the right bits of luck. Okay, Casemiro should never have been sent off, but okay, we managed it well. Towards the end, it was Chelsea who was piling on the pressure. And I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that they could end up keeping so much possession at the end. I didn't like the fact that we were not getting close to them, couldn't lay a glove on them towards the end. They were not threatening. They were not threatening us totally or peppering our goal, but they had the possession. We've got to work on that, especially towards the end of the game, because that's where games are decided. That last kind of like 10 minutes plus extra time. And these days, extra times, you don't get you don't get added on time less than 5 minutes. So essentially, you've got that last 17 to 18, 19 minutes, which you've got to manage. And I can see plenty of teams potentially scoring there. So anyway, Amram's got work to do. This is by no way, shape or form vintage Man United. This is not United, here we go, we are back, etc. This is just job done, well done on a win against a fellow competitor. We've lost to teams which are better than us, the teams who are fighting for the title. Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal, I think, are better than us, and fair play to them. I think we competed, not against Man City, that was a disaster, but we competed, didn't get the just results. But against teams who we are directly in competition, and I don't care what deluded Chelsea fans may think that they are so good and they should be in the top four. They might be in the top four, but they're definitely fighting us. They're not. That top three is elite. Man City's not quite elite playing in that bracket, but the quality in the squad with essentially the best manager in the world puts that in that bracket. But United are, in my opinion, in the bracket below that, fighting the likes of Chelsea, fighting the likes of Spurs, maybe Newcastle for that top four, top five spot. So important victory. Glad we held out, and this puts us within a point of Chelsea, who have games in Europe, are still in both cups. So they will have to manage their season, and we've got no excuses to go into games tired, jaded, not well prepared. So that should, in theory, give us an edge over them. So yeah, relieved. Now, key points before we go into the player ratings for me, other than the fact that we need to better manage the games, and Amorim needs to sort out his substitutions. But key points for me, and I'll start from back to front. Bindier, didn't have much to do, but he was called upon, and Chelsea had a corner late on, put it in that danger zone, and for once Bindier came out and punched it out, showed his presence. So he's learning. Let's hope it stays that way. And that defense overall, whoever is playing, I know I've been critical of all the changes, but whoever is playing in defense, I think we're getting used to a system of play which looks comfortable. It looks good on the eye. I'm not going to lie. Results haven't gone our way, and there's lots of critics, and I'm not a fan of substituting your centre-backs willy-nilly without any reason. But to Amorim's credit, I think we're starting to see a style of play, certainly in defence, whereby often our defenders are also attacking and creating havoc in the opposition half. A couple of times I've seen, you know, Dorgu's up there, Mazraoui's up there. Those are wing backs, obviously, but Ligt has been far up front, being super physical, adding that presence. Lenny Yoro, when he's played, he comes out with the ball. So I'm quite happy. I think there's positives there for us. The midfield, that side is still unsure for me. Today we didn't get tested the most because, well, Chelsea were down to 10 men rather earlier on. But I think in midfield, when Casemiro plays, you see why United bought him. You see why he's been a top player for Real Madrid for so many years. He's very unassuming. When he is on the ball, he makes the right decision. Often he knows when to time his runs in. And today he got a brilliant goal, from midfield, deep lying, number 6. He got himself into a great position, scored yet again against Chelsea. But the only problem is Casemiro is in his 30s. He can't manage games, can't play 90 minutes. So we've got to find that other player. Ugarte today came on, and in the end, the match ended up with Ugarte and Mainu in midfield. I didn't quite like it. It's only a match, and hopefully it's only not even one game. It's only 5 to 10 minutes or whatever that they played together, and we were under the cosh, but it just doesn't quite look natural. So we've got to work on that midfield. We've got to get Ugarte comfortable in the system, comfortable with taking the ball off our defenders while still allowing them to progress and save his intensity to break up play. So we've got some work there. Bruno Fernandes, where does he fit in? We don't know. But Bruno's Bruno. If he plays well, if he's not giving the ball away and he's on song, then we're in business. It's as simple as that. I don't think Bruno had his best game. Far from it. And free kicks and set pieces are still a problem. In that second half, we had back-to-back free kicks, one on the left-hand side, and Mbeumo took it, hits the first man. On the right-hand side, Bruno Fernandes steps up, hits the first man again. Issues, right? So we've got to work on that. Set pieces are super important. We're still conceding more from it, and we're not as potent, not as dangerous. Crossing, I think that's a major issue. It doesn't help that we have these inverted fullbacks, etc. Just work on getting the right-footed player on that right side touchline, left-footed player on the left side touchline, and we go. I think that makes Old Trafford very, very dangerous for oppositions. And for periods, we did do that today. The quality was not there in terms of the crossing. We were just crossing. And that put Chelsea on the up against it in the first half. But if we start working on the quality, I think we can do a lot more damage. And lastly, the front. I see a major problem with us trying to get goals. Major problem. We are, all the positives that I've said at the back, for me, it's completely the opposite up front. Yes, we've scored goals. We've scored a couple today. Yes, we are creating some openings, but I don't see that pattern of play. I don't see the confidence in our forward line players in knowing where each other are. When we're scoring, it's from moments. sure, one can argue moments part of the game, absolutely, but we're not progressing. We're not progressing from those moments since when Rashford was there, Martial was there, Cristiano Ronaldo was there. We're relying too much on the individual brilliance. Embuemo so far has provided that for us. You know, give him half a yard and he'll curl something in top bins, but we're not working on those patterns. Not enough, not often enough, and not with a great deal of conviction and quality. So, Shesko, he's got to work. Not just him. I'm not being just critical of Shesko, but Amrim coaching staff, Shesko, and all of that, front line need to work super hard to get that connected, because we can't go into games where we're dominating, we're getting the ball in those forward lines, but we just look clueless. So many times we were up against 2 or 3 Chelsea players and we just couldn't carve an opening. So, or we failed to put in a good ball in the box. That's not acceptable, because this was, in my opinion, a poor Chelsea side. Confidence is low. We had the right break, especially with their goalkeepers getting sent off. So let's not kid ourselves. We were playing at home. There are a lot more tougher challenges than this, and we won't get all these chances. So when we do get them, when we've worked out a break, I think getting into the opposition box, we have done very, very well. It's about 2, but that final third for us, not good, just not good. Also begs me to question, why isn't Xerxes getting minutes? He's fit, he's back. Why isn't he getting minutes? Which is why I would have personally preferred someone like Ahmad or even Embuemo get taken off at half time and leave Shesko on. I know it's not a time for practice, but I think it's very important for our season that Shesko builds his confidence, gets minutes, gets to play with the team. They get to understand his movement. And yeah, just a lot of work needs to be done there, that forward line. So, all right, let's get into the player ratings. So, start with Bayern Deer. Decent evening, and I want to give him credit. Prop. He didn't have much to do. The first half, he was the player with the least touches alongside Sesko in both ends. Spoke about that against Man City. Man City have got Donnarumma in goal and Haaland up front, pretty much the best in their respective positions. We've got Bayern Deer and Sesko, unknowns. I'm not going to insult them and say rookies or inexperienced or not good, but they're unknown quantities. We just haven't figured our strengths. Both with Bayern Deer, who today, throughout he's looked good with his feet, and today he's worked on dominating his box. Couldn't do anything with that header that was on Lenny Yoro, and for me, out of 10, I'm happy to give Bandy an encouraging 7 out of 10. He didn't do anything wrong, and just for that huge punch from the cross, above average for me. Then we get into the centre backs. Maguire. I thought Maguire had a very dominating performance. Nothing wrong with his game, and these kind of matches suit him. The one thing I do want to say about the centre backs, again, we can see that they're comfortable. They're all comfortable rotating, playing in each other. Maguire was sweeping on the right. Ligt played a lot on the left of centre back. They seem to have a method to their madness, so I'm not going to be super critical about it. I'm not an expert in defending, but perhaps this is what brings the best out of them. So, yeah, Maguire swept, dominated air, and anything that came in front of him, put it away. So for me, happy to give him an 8 out of 10. Maybe I'm being generous, but yeah, 8 out of 10. And if Maguire was an 8 out of 10 for me, Ligt is nothing less. And the fact that he completed the game, he swept everything, from start to finish, played all across the back line, he gets an 8.5 out of 10. Super impressed with Ligt. Strong, tenacious. He's got that true grit about him. Made quite a few clearances, one in particular, big clearance, and he had to hurdle over the goalkeeper. Really loved that one. Took one, went flying into the net. Loved it. So Dillit is an 8.5, and probably so far with all of our games into the start of the season, I think Dillit has been our best player. So super happy with that. Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw was that left centre back. And again, like Maguire, super solid performance, finished the game, did really well. Luke Shaw, 8 out of 10. We go on to the wing backs. Mazraoui, I thought he had a very good performance as well. Could be better. He's getting back from injury. Could be better in attack. Could be supporting a lot more with his crosses. But I didn't see much wrong, and happy to give him also an 8 out of 10. Dorgu on the other side, one of his better performances, but he just lacks that bit of quality and composure in the final piece, in that last half. You can see they're not playing with that full confidence and swagger. He's got a lot of potential. Dorgu is very strong, very quick, and got himself a very good assist today, but not always composed. So I'll dock him half a mark, and he'll still get a good 7.5. Dorgu. Going to midfield, Casemiro for me, nothing wrong, and I'm not going to blame him for that red card. So Casemiro gets an 8 out of 10. Bruno Fernandes, well, he also got himself a goal, was super passionate. I really liked that piece of brilliance towards the end where he was the last, he was not quite in front of goal, but he was the most advanced United player, took it down, slowed down the game, then sped it up and unleashed a ferocious shot, which the goalkeeper did very well to get his hands on. And you could see Bruno's passion coming out and oozing once again. Can't fault Bruno for passion and for determination and getting the fans on board. So great points there. But Bruno's got to be critical of Bruno. He's not disciplined. He's never in that hole. When he plays in a pivot, he's never around the pivot. Talk about being a pivot, and he himself is not in it. So that's got to be looked at. I think we'll be having tougher opponents, and not necessarily tougher in terms of huge quality, but just more disciplined players in midfield. If Caicedo had another player with him, I think we would have run into problems today. Or even if they had 11 men, if this match was 11v11, I think it would have been a lot more challenging anyway for our midfield. So today was not the test. It was not a match to judge how good our midfield played. But Bruno on his own, while he has all of these attributes and he's got great quality, he's got to be more disciplined if he's to play in a pivot. And secondly, but consistently, his distribution from set pieces needs to improve massively. It's so bad, and he constantly, regularly, 80% of the time finds the first man, We've got to work on that. In the Premier League, there's a lot of free kicks that are being given, a lot of corners. And, you know, Bruno, not only does he hit the first man, which obviously then we've piled on the players at the back, we don't capitalize on it. But because he hits the first man, they can get, a header out or clear the ball out. He puts us under pressure. This is how bad our offensive set pieces are. They put us under pressure. So he's got to take accountability on that. I can't imagine that this is something tactical that they're doing, but he has got to personally take accountability on that, and understand the gravitas, the importance of clearing that first man. If you can't find our player, at least put it in an area which is dangerous, where we have the most red shirts. Otherwise, we've got to work a different way. Maybe we've got to put a United player up at the first post. So that's a huge issue. Now we go on to our forwards. So Ahmad, did we give a score to Bruno? No. I'm going to give Bruno still a 7. We won the match. He had some good positive moments, and throughout, I think he was slightly better than average. 6.5 would probably be fair, but let me just round it off to 7. We won. I'm feeling generous, so 7 for Bruno. Ahmad, probably 7.5. Skillful player. Today showed tenacity, but didn't quite have that final end product. I really like what he was thinking down the right hand side, but he was majorly unlucky. Dribble past his player, but the ball had gone out before he crossed it in for Casemiro to tap it into the net. That could and should have been a goal. One of, again, the few chances that we created in the first half where we were cruising. But again, I think he lacked that killer instinct, Ahmad. Especially when we're winning, he goes for the jugular and he's very relaxed. Maybe it's his body language, but it doesn't look hungry to get that next goal. So we've got to work on that. But otherwise, he's a player full of quality, definitely better than, someone like Anthony, who we brought in for so much money. So Ahmad has a lot of potential, starting to fulfill that potential, but not quite there. In his defense, he gets moved into so many different positions. 1 minute he's the right wing back, next minute he is the right-sided number 10, next he's the left-sided number 10. He's in so many positions, left wing back. Yeah, he's in so many positions, and that can't really be great and can be destabilizing. So let's add that to, let's cut him some slack for that. But his performance today itself was all right, was good. But I think he could do with a little bit more killer instinct, and he could be hugely, he could be a game changer for Man United because he's that talented. Mbeumo as the other number 10. Another good performance. I think, that this was not vintage Mbeumo. We've seen him have better performances even in a Man United shirt, let alone in a Brentford shirt. But it was a good, solid performance. And I think if we are to do anything this season, Mbeumo will play a vital part in that, because such is his quality. I don't think we can afford to play without Mbeumo. In the end, when he came off, Cunha came on, didn't do much, and I think Mbeumo is probably our most important and potent forward in this team. So without him, we look very blunt, simple as. So I'll give him a steady 7. It's a good performance, not vintage. and today he's still provide us with that outlet. I mean, it's his run that got us into that privileged position of being 11v10 in the first place. So that alone, he deserves 7 out of 10. But yeah, we again, his it's part of that jigsaw where Embuemo's individual qualities have shown, but are we getting the best of Embuemo? Are we getting the most out of him? Not yet. So we've got to work on that. And lastly, Shesko. Not a bad performance, but yet to showcase his talent. I'll give him just above average, 6.5. I'd like to see more from him. I was hoping, even though I'm very happy Bruno's still got the goal in the end, I don't mind who gets us a goal. But I was really hoping that this was Shesko peeling off to celebrate the goal, because it was a very well taken goal. So well done, Bruno. I can't wait for Shesko to get on the score sheet for Man United. The sooner he does, the better it is for both him and us. And yeah, regrettable it wasn't this match, but it will come. It will come. I trust in him. He's got great physical attributes. He's, I think, coming to Old Trafford has weighed on his shoulders. You know, being that number 9 position is a deadly position, especially when you're playing with, you know, only one centre forward. But he provided enough in this match with the physicality, etc., to show that he belongs there. We've just got to find a way for him to integrate with the team, and for them to find him with passes and intricate balls, and for him to be able to know when he has to stay in that penalty box, and when he can add more than just be that fulcrum at the top there. So in terms of the substitutes who came on, Ugarte, standard 6, didn't pull up any trees. Same with Mainu. Yeah, I don't think Lenny Yoro came on. Didn't These guys didn't do much. They were not negative, but they didn't really add any impetus. It's not a surprise that United, because yeah, I just think Ruben Amorim has not used them properly. Has not made the right substitutions, not in the right times, not the right personnel. So yeah, substitutes for me were standard 6 out of 10. How about the fans? I think fans were superb. When we were on top, they responded massively, but that there was a slight dip. So I'd give the fans an 8 out of 10 today. Good, but in some periods, I think they, like parts of the team, were just, I think, were just frustrated with the lack of ideas, the lack of creativity. We want to see free-flowing football, attacking football, especially at Old Trafford. That's yet to come. So I understand. The referee should get the lowest marks for me. He didn't have a shocker, but he had a shocking decision. That one from Casemiro is inexcusable. In a game of this magnitude, equalizing, I think that was more emotion than brain. I can't believe he gave that a second yellow completely. You know, Casemiro laid gloves, not even twice. I'd like to say twice, not even twice, and he ended up getting 2 yellow cards. So super harsh. So give referee a 4. But other than that, I think he managed the game all right, and need to be better, and we need to get more accountability from them. But anyway, today is about Man United winning against Chelsea, finally beating one of our competitors. and we're on 7 points, 1 point behind Chelsea, and we're in the reckoning, in the running for one of the European spots. Hope we can use this as a platform to bounce forward, to jump, to start collecting some points regularly. But we've got to get Sesko in the game. We've got to get our ideas together, get our attack working and flowing. We'll have easier opposition than this, obviously. But I'm just super relieved, happy to a point that United have ended up the day with 3 points against Chelsea. If someone would have offered me this at the beginning of the match, I would have taken it totally. So happy, and now I can go on and celebrate the rest of my weekend. It's not going to be as drab as last weekend. So wish you all the same. Take care, and until the next time.